Everything looks so quiet and normal, even pastoral, or at least it looks that way to the casual observer. Only those who live in a country where terrorism is part of the daily news can understand the magnitude of the mental pressure experienced by the residents. The purpose of terrorism is to undermine the individual's feeling of security, and even when we want to believe that everything is all right, the security check at the entrance to every public place reminds us of the constant threat to our lives. Terror can strike anywhere, at any time. Terrorism does not distinguish between human beings, does not care if it strikes down a man or woman, adult or infant, with the stench of death in the air at the sight of a bomb blast. While the television shows bloody limbs flying through the street, somewhere, someone is watching the same scene and rubbing his hands together in delight as he plans the next attacks. Everyone feels the constant danger. You, your children, those nearest and dearest to you, are in the terrorists' gun sights, and at any moment, the Palestinian terrorist can pull the trigger. No parent can ensure his child's safety. No one who leaves his own home can promise his safe return. Nor can he guarantee his family's safety as they ride in the family car to or from the house. Each trip on public transportation means taking one's life into one's hands. The Palestinian Authority and their information services describe these terror attacks as heroic actions worthy of imitation. Children are called upon to join the ranks of suicide killers. The Palestinian Authority is transmitting a message to the younger generation. The goal of life is death. A veritable propaganda strategy is being implemented by the Palestinian authorities, directly aimed at motivating the hearts and minds of young children. They are urged to take part willingly in terrorist acts. Children are instructed, throw down your toys and replace them with rocks.
مش رح تسلم يا صهيوني من بركان حجار بلادي مش رح تسلم يا صهيوني من بركان حجار بلادي انت الهدف قبال عيوني واهلا ومرحب باستشهادي.
The goal of this training is to program the children to be ready and willing to murder and kill of their own free will, even if it means that they themselves will die. The Palestinian Authority-administered educational system gives Palestinian children formal classes on the best ways to kill Israelis. The deliberate incitement of the children has gradually lost all restraints. The incitement reaches each household through television and radio spots. It permeates the schools, and the textbooks are riddled with teachings of hate. Teaching children to hate inundates them from all directions. Cartoons and caricatures in children's magazines and newspapers remind them to throw stones. Photographs of child shahidim or martyrs adorn every wall.
Bravo, 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 bravo.
Every Palestinian has been exposed to inhumane propaganda over the past few years, with the primary message being, kill Jews wherever you can. This message is not limited to the realm of the extremists, but rather is open policy. This is a gradual poisoning of the minds of the public, drop by dangerous drop. But worst of all is the manipulation of the children, from toddlers to university students.
يا جماهيرنا الفلسطينية في كل مكان، يا جماهيرنا الفلسطينية في كل أرجاء الوطن،
فاليهود هم اليهود، قاتلوهم أينما كنتم، حيثما ثقفتموهم فاقتلوهم، أينما تكونون فاقتلوا أولئك اليهود، ومن لفهم من الأمريكان من وضع حزاما ناسفا على نفسه أو على أبنائه ودخل في أعماق اليهود.
استمرارية مسيرة الشهادة وانتفاضة الأقصى. صنعوا قنابل المولوتوف، خزنوا قنابل المولوتوف كما تخزنوا طعامكم وشرابكم.
The Palestinian Authority takes great care to get maximum publicity worldwide out of photographs of children wounded in violent demonstrations. But when we begin to ask why children were present at such demonstrations, a terrifying picture emerges. Children facing off with soldiers serves the ends of Palestinian propaganda. It always makes a good picture, especially when children are hurt or killed. Children are taught not to fear death, but to welcome it. Hard to believe, but such encouragement comes from parents as well. In order to encourage the children to commit suicide attack missions, an entire cult has emerged around each shaheed who died in the act of a terror attack.
إنما دفعني لهذا العمل هو ابتغاء مرضات الله عز وجل وانتقاما من أعداء البشرية اليهود وثأرا لأبنائي.
Photographs of suicide bombers are front-page news on all newspapers. The funeral processions become glorious nationalistic spectacles. Thus, the figure of the suicide bomber is being restructured as a national saint, and children are called upon to follow the example. One of the campers, when asked if he wants to blow himself up as a suicide bomber, answers,
Yes. نحرر فلسطين ونقوم بالمقاومة حتى تحرير المقدسات الفلسطينية.
We are teaching the children that suicide bombs is the only thing that makes the Israeli people very frightful. Furthermore, we are teaching them that we have the right to do it. Moreover, we are teaching them that after the suicide attacks, the man who makes it go to the highest state in paradise. Palestinian psychologist Dr. Shafik Masalha conducted a study last year among Palestinian children aged 6 to 11. The most astonishing fact presented by Dr. Masalha was that more than 50% of children aged 6 to 11 dream of becoming suicide bombers who wear explosive belts. Dr. Masalha states that in about 10 years, a very murderous generation will come of age, full of hatred, and ready to die in suicide missions. In a society in which legitimization of child murderers becomes a part of its ideology, then normative human morality no longer exists. Which moral rules shall these children pass on to their children when they in turn become parents?
مغتصبي آكل لحم مغتصبي حذاري من جوع ومن غضب.
All of this has been orchestrated quite methodically by the Palestinian Authority, who, with malice aforethought and directed from above, have transformed children into political pawns. We must wonder what kind of government calls upon its citizens to become uncompromising killers, while presenting itself to the world as a victim striving only towards peace. This untenable hypocrisy should not be tolerated by enlightened civilization. Yet, this is the reality happening here and now, right under the noses and cameras of the international media, who are trying so valiantly to avoid facing the undeniable and disturbing fact. Irrevocable seeds of hatred have been planted into an entire generation.
حجرك محسوب حسابا.
دمار كل ما حولي دمار، وحول الأهل يزداد الحصار. أرى الأعداء تمعن في أذانا، إذن فليكبر الآن الصغار. أرى الأعداء تؤذي كل روح، إذن ليكبر الآن الصغار.
أرضك شرفك هي الأمن على الدنيا وأصحابها.
كتابي أصبح الحجر، به سأصد من غدروا. صغير مثل صاحبه ولكن فعله قدر.
وطى وصلي وتيسر دربك من العنف، أمك أرضك قطعة نار احضر اسمك عبوابا.
أنا لبيك يا أقصى، أنا لبيك يا قدس. فأن يكن فاتني درس فحبك وحده الدرس.
يلا نطلع من سردة كل شباك ومن كل باب، حجري وحجرك صاروا حراب، نار الآكل منهابا.
حقق الغالي مراده وجنى فضل الشهادة. أبدا ما مات يوما من مضى يفدي بلاده.
القادمون بنصر الله فتيته، من أرخصوا الروح طوعا كي يضيء غدو. القادمون وخيل الحق تحملهم، هم الذين وفوا الله ما وعدوا. سلام على الأقصى، سلام على الأقصى. وأخجل أنني بأنات حرف عن شهيد أترجم. سلام على الأقصى، وليس بحاجة إلى شاعر حين الدماء تتكلم. يا لحمنا العربي، يا لحمنا العربي، يا من هان حتى كاد يخرج من رقيم الأدميين. التقط حجرا كهذا الطفل، التقط حجرا كهذا الطفل، واضرب مرة، زحزح لجام القهر، واضرب مرة، جرب شموخ الجرح، واضرب مرة، قل أنتمي للدم لا للنفط، واضرب. ربما ردتك للإحياء، للبشر الحجارة.
بصمت دامع بحنين الأم الدافئ ودعته واحتضنته والدته طويلا، وطبعت على وجنتيه القبلة الأخيرة قبل لحظة الفراق الأخير بينهما، وأوصته بأن لا يعود إليها إلا شهيدا. صورة واحدة كهذه اختزلت كل الكلمات. لحظات أخيرة عاشتها ام نضال مع فلذة كبدها. أصغر الاستشهاديين الجنرال الجديد الذي انضم إلى قافلة الاستشهاديين. محمد فرحات التابع لكتائب الشهيد عز الدين القسام الجناح العسكري لحركة حماس، والمنفذ لعملية اقتحام مستوطنة عتسمون اليهودية ليقتل 5 إسرائيليين ويصيب أكثر من 20 آخرين حسب مصادر إسرائيلية.
أنا بدفع ابني للجهاد في سبيل الله، واجب علينا مكلفين شرعيا إبو. يعني أنا لو بدي مثلا أعطف عليه أو إشي وأخليه يتراجع عن حاجة زي هذه ما بيكونش صح. أنا يعني بكون سويت غلط، يعني أنا بديش أمشي على عاطفتي، عاطفة الأمومة، يعني بأضحي فيها شوية لأجل شيء أكبر من ذلك، حتى إنه يعني كمان الحاجة هذه مرتبطة بعاطفة الأمومة. ليش؟ أنا بحب ابني فبدي أختار له الأحسن والأفضل. الأحسن مش هو الحياة هذه الدنيا، لا، عندنا حياة آخرة هي السعادة الأبدية، فإذا أنا بحب ابني بختار له السعادة الأبدية.
ذاك الفتى المنظور في وطن الشهادة، محمد الذي تبدو على ملامحه البراءة والجرأة، تمكن من قص الشائك بأسلحته البسيطة والمتواضعة ليخترق كل الحواجز الإلكترونية ويكسر نظرية الأمن الإسرائيلي وأسطورة الجيش الذي لا يقهر.
معاه كان كلاشين و9 مخازن رصاص وقنابل. كم قنبلة كان؟ 17 18.
لحظة ما دخل المستوطنة كان معنا، يعني كان على اتصال معنا، كنا قلقانين جدا من الساعة 3 أو 4 خش العصر لحد الساعة 12 بالليل، وإحنا طبعا كنا في استنفار وكنا قلقانين جدا على إنه ما تتنفذش العملية أو مثلا يتصاوب أو يعتقلوه، فكنا في حالة قلق شديدة. فكنا خلال 8 ساعات اللي احنا بننتظر فيه
كنت نفسي إنه يستشهد على طول، يعني لأنه لو بده يعني كل الحياة راح تكون عذاب له. لو مثلا جرح ولا سمح الله اعتقلوه يعني راح تكون عذاب كبير.
الصبر والصمود بقيات تاجين على رأس أم نضال، الاسم على مسمى، فهي مثالا رائعا للنضال والبطولات الفلسطينية، فهي أم شهيد وأم أسير، وهي التي أوت وضمت في بيتها عقل العمليات الاستشهادية. الشهيد عماد عقل الذي لا تنسى بطولاته وعملياته العديدة ضد أهداف إسرائيلية. احتضنته في منزلها 11 شهرا عندما كان مطاردا من قبل قوات الاحتلال الإسرائيلية في الانتفاضة الأولى، مع العلم أنه لا توجد بينه وبين هذه العائلة أي صلة قرابة أو صداقة من قبل، ليشاء له القدر ويصبح شهيدا في منزلها، ويبقى هذا نصب تذكاري لمكان استشهاده.
والله بدي أقول لك يعني كانت حياته مميزة بالجهاد، يعني ما إن كبر هو صغير يعني كان يقوم يعني بأشياء كثير، يساعد عماد الله يرحمه ويرصد له عمليات وحاجات كثير. هو 10 سنين كان، لأنه كان عماد عندنا هو كان 10 سنين، كان والله يوكله بمهمات كبيرة يعني ويقوم فيها. والله هو 10 سنين كان يرصد له عمليات، منها عملية جامع مصعب هذه، هو أساسه، هو اللي قال له يا عماد في جد بروح وبيجي بشرق وبغرب، إيش رأيك فيه؟ ضل في بال عماد لما عمل نفذ العملية بعد 3 أيام. يعني بينه وبين عماد عقل يعني علاقة حميمة كانت، يعني أكثر من إخوة، أكثر من أصدقاء، دائما ملازمين لبعض. هو يعني حلقة وصل بيننا وبينه في البيت، وهو يعني كمان مراسل له برية البيت وين ما كان يوديه، فكنا يعني معتبرينه خدام لعماد عقل.
فماذا نقول للأم الصابرة وهي تبارك لولدها الناهض من نومه في الصباح ليرتدي أجمل ثيابه كفن الشهادة ولتودعه بالزغاريد والصلاة؟
دور الأم يعني ما بيقتصرش على الأشياء المادية في البيت من طبيخ وعجين وأكل وشرب ونظافة، لا، الأم مدرسة، هي أول مدرسة في حياة طفلها. فإذا هي غزته بالمبادئ الصحيحة وبالمبادئ الخير اللي هي طبعا كلها موجودة في الدين الإسلامي، تربيه تربية إسلامية صحيحة وينشأ عليها، بتضمنه إن شاء الله هو مع المسلمين الصالحين.
أقول يمكن الصعب يمسك أو ما يقدرش يقاوم بعد ما يتصاب. فعند نبأ إنه ما حكوا إنه قالوا إنه تم مقتل المسلح، لاحظت إنه كلنا فرحنا وصرنا نكبر وسجدنا لله شكر وبوسنا بعض انا واهلي على بطن بعض. لحظتها يعني كانت لحظه سعاده لا توصف والله، لانه ربنا شرفنا بشيء.
يعني شعوري يعني لما استقبلت من اخوي محمد كثير كنت فرحان،
أنه أخوي شهيد، مش يعني ميت، حي عند ربنا بيكون هذا يعني شهيد يعني.
وبالفعل وكما أرادت عاد لها شهيدا، فبمجرد وصول جثمانه الطاهر إلى المنزل لإلقاء نظرة الوداع الأخيرة أظفرت والدته بقبلة ثانية وأخيرة على جبين هذا الشبل.
يعني قد ما يبروني أولادي الأحياء مش راح يبروني قد ما يبرني الشهيد، لأنه إن شاء الله بكون شفيع لنا يوم القيامة. شو بدي أحسن من هذه الحاجة، وإن شاء الله ربنا يضمن لنا الجنة معاه. فما برجوش يعني خير أكثر من هيك، يعني أكثر بر قدموا إلي محمد اللي هي شهادته.
فاليهود هم اليهود سواء كانوا عملا أو لكود، فاليهود هم اليهود، ولن يكون فيهم معتدل ولا داعية للسلام، فكلهم كاذبون. هؤلاء هم الذين يجب أن يذبحوا ويجب أن يقتلوا، كما قال الله تبارك وتعالى: قاتلوهم يعذبهم الله بأيديكم ويخزهم وينصركم عليهم ويشفي صدور قوم مؤمنين. فحتى لو وقعت اتفاقيات غزة والضفة الغربية فلن ننسى حيفا وعكا والجليل ويافا والمثلث والنقب وغير ذلك من مدننا وقرانا، وما هي إلا مسألة وقت. فعلى الفصائل كلها وعلى شعبنا كل في موقعه أن يتوحد في خندق واحد، وأن يتسلح من القيادة الفلسطينية بالسلاح لمواجهة اليهود. فاليهود إخوة الإيمان والله لم يعرفوا ولن يعرفوا على مدار التاريخ إلا القوة وإلا الجهاد في سبيل الله. إن اليهود كالزنبرك، ما دمت ضاغطا عليه بقدمك فلا يتحرك، أما إذا رفعت قدمك عن ذلك الزنبرك فإنه يؤذيك وينزل العقاب بك. فهذا هو شأن اليهود، فلا ترحموا اليهود في أي موقع كان وفي أي موطن. قاتلوهم أينما كنتم حيثما ثقفتموهم فاقتلوهم، أينما تكونون فاقتلوا أولئك اليهود ومن لفهم من الأمريكان ومن وقف معهم، فإنهم جميعا في خندق واحد ضد العرب والمسلمين، لأنهم أوجدوا إسرائيل هنا في قلب العالم العربي النابض في فلسطين. أوجدوها لتكون مقدمة حضارتهم ومقدمة جيوشهم، وليكونوا سيف الغرب والصليبيين المسلط على رقاب الموحدين بالله المسلمين في هذه البلاد. إنهم أرادوا اليهود رأس حربة لهم لتبقى مطامعهم في البلاد العربية، في البترول العربي الذي يجب أن يجند من أجل شعب فلسطين ومن أجل قضية فلسطين. إننا نريد من العرب فقط أن يفتحوا حدودهم معنا، حدودهم مع فلسطين، ليأتي المجاهدون من اليمن، من سوريا، من الشام، من العراق، من الجزيرة، من البلاد الإسلامية كلها، من أجل أن يجاهدوا مع إخوانهم الفلسطينيين.
انتفاضة الأقصى. هذه الانتفاضة يخطئ من يظن أنها حدثت بسبب زيارة الحقير شارون إلى المسجد الأقصى، وإن كانت هي القشة التي قسمت صبر الشعب الفلسطيني، ولكن هذه الانتفاضة كانت معدة سابقا منذ عودة القائد الرئيس من مفاوضات كامب ديفيد الأخيرة، عندما قام الطاولة هناك في وجه الرئيس المنصرف كلينتون، عندما وقف وتحداه ورفض الشروط الأمريكية في القلب الأمريكي. وبالتالي كان أخو الرئيس الأول الذي يقول لأمريكا بالفم الملآن الواثق بأنه يرفض الشروط الأمريكية وهو في قلب أمريكا. نعم، في وجه كلينتون هناك في كامب ديفيد بأنه لن يخضع للشروط الأمريكية مهما كانت الظروف والتحديات.
They told me that a bomb exploded at a club. I didn't pay much attention. 5 minutes later, they told me it was at the Delphinarium Disco. I just asked God, please let it not be my girls. Not my girls.
A typical day in Tel Aviv. Life goes on, under a cloud of violence. While young Palestinians join terrorist organizations, Israeli civilians struggle to keep their lives on track. On any given day, anyone's child, friend, or relative can fall victim to the next suicide bomber. No place is safe. A Friday night outing can prove fatal.
سأجعل من جسدي قنبلة أفجر بها أجساد الصهاينة من أبناء القردة والخنازير.
I only felt the pain in my head, the place where the bullet penetrated. I woke up and couldn't see anyone alive.
The murderers become martyrs. Their achievements are celebrated in Palestinian towns and cities.
They wouldn't tell me anything. Even when I asked about Irena, they said she was in the hospital, waiting for an operation, and that she was in critical condition. Sometimes I have the feeling that she could walk into my room. That she's still alive.
Ella still struggles with the memory of her two daughters.
I miss them terribly now. Everyone misses you. So much.
As the bloodshed and torment continue, Israelis ask themselves, when will peace come?
فاليهود هم اليهود قاتلوهم أينما كنتم حيثما ثقفتموهم فاقتلوهم أينما تكونون فاقتلوا أولئك اليهود ومن لف لفهم من الأمريكان.
Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus. Following Easter services, heavily armed Palestinian terrorists invade the Church of the Nativity and take priests and nuns hostage. These same Palestinians, who committed barbaric acts of terrorism in Israel, are now hiding behind the walls of this most sacred church, desecrating its sanctity and hindering its clergy in their religious practices. Armed with the deadly weapons and explosives that they have used so often to kill and maim innocent civilians, they now fortify themselves inside the church, cynically exploiting Israel's respect for the sites holy to all religions.
Everything is okay, don't be afraid, okay? How about you? I'm fine, thank you.
These terrorists, who care nothing about the sanctity of human life, are trying to draw the battle against terrorism onto a sacred Christian site.
For some, it was the first time at a disco, the first time in their lives, and then suddenly there was an explosion. They told me there was an explosion in a disco. Disco? What do I know? 5 minutes later, they told me it was in the Dolphinarium disco. That's it. I just asked God, please let it not be my girls, not my girls. We searched for her all night. We searched the hospital lists, Tel HaShomer, Wolfson, Ichilov, but she wasn't anywhere. That was when I realized that something was very wrong. That apparently she was too close to the explosion.
Two bomb attacks shook other parts of Israel. In Hadera, 2 people in a car packed with explosives are dead. Some 36 others were injured as the bomb exploded next to a bus. The latest bombing comes shortly after 2 other incidents. The Islamic militant group Hamas has claimed responsibility for a suicide bomb attack.
I didn't hear the explosion. I didn't realize it was a blast. I just found myself on the ground, realizing that I wasn't standing because I didn't have a leg to stand on. It was amputated on the spot. What's left of my body is either burns, transplants, or what's missing. I boarded the bus. I didn't notice anything, didn't really pay attention. I saw a bag beneath my feet. I didn't pay attention to it, just asked myself whose it was. We drove on. Only several seconds later, I heard a light explosion, and the bag simply started to burn, with plenty of smoke coming out of it. I saw the blaze at my feet, stood up and walked off the bus. At first it was painful, an open wound. The skin is simply missing. A burn is merely the lack of skin. And in my case, it was 55% open wound. It hurts. At first it really hurts. My biggest pain is the change that's difficult for me to cope with. It's like taking a person, placing him in nothingness, and telling him to find the exit. Knowing that you can compose a tune or play a tune, to exhale and move your fingers and produce a tune or sounds, and music. That's the fun of the clarinet. That's the fun in playing any instrument. It was taken away from me in such a massive way, and in such a boom, that it hurts. It's like taking my heart out and trampling over it. Since that day, when their legs were amputated, none of them can do what each of them loved doing earlier. Israel loved playing football, running around and fooling around. He hardly talked to anyone. At least he had the exercise The sport. He used to climb trees. There wasn't a thing he didn't do. Simply a happy child. Since the incident, along with this artificial leg, he finds it difficult to be himself. Orit was a very happy child. Many games, running around, and competitions, skipping rope. And she doesn't see herself doing this ever again. Tila, since the day she lost her 2 legs, she's simply like a doll. You need to lift her, place her, bring her in and out. She tries to walk using her artificial legs. It's very difficult. They told us that she will be bound to a wheelchair for life. We have 3 of these. In the meantime, we managed to handle it, but there's a very, very long way ahead. It's simply inconceivable how such an injury can take life away from you. There are moments that I wish I would be spared all this, torment. If only my family would be spared to see all my suffering. In one swift moment, they would notify them that such and such happened, and that's it. They would have had to learn to live with it. I wouldn't suffer.
Monique was mowed down by a Palestinian bus driver. She was brought to the hospital more dead than alive, with no chance of saving her. Monique has gone through, I think, 5 operations. Her leg at the moment, her left leg is paralyzed in 2 of her nerves. Her pelvis was broken. It's now been reset. Both legs were broken. Her teeth were knocked out.
Can't walk, I can't dance. Can't go out with my friends like I used to. I'm very limited because I need everyone's help to do things. I can't go to the bathroom by myself. And I don't think it's fair.
Monica planned on being a dancer. She wanted to maybe open up a dance studio. Peace. There's no other solution. So why go through a war and lose more lives on both sides to get to the same solution?
The thing that I will miss the most is running along the seashore, walking down to the beach and sitting on the sand and watching the sea. I can't see myself ever again sitting and sunbathing or going into the water, especially not on a beach, not on a crowded beach. That's gone. I wish there was hope, that peace could be achieved, but such hope is not maintained.
Following 3 years of compulsory military service, Israeli men are obliged to leave their families and businesses and serve 42 days each year on reserve army duty. This is the story of Major Amir Zohar, who was drafted for routine reserve duty on the 1st of November 2000 at the Elisha River Army Base. That night, Palestinians attacked the base, and while trying to protect it, Amir, commanding the force, was killed. It was about here. Amir stood here, I think. Something like that. Everything's changed here, but I think it was here. Here is where he got killed. It was a Tuesday, around 5:45, 6, something like that. Amir was fending off the attack for about half an hour, 45 minutes, when he raised his head during the mission and screamed, "I've been hit." And then he fell. When I saw Amir, the area was lit up, and I saw his face. He was lying on the mound. He wasn't screaming, as if nothing had happened, as if he was calm. But he wasn't moving. And then I understood that there's something wrong here, that he's badly hurt, or maybe even dead.
I remember my parents bringing the uniform on Saturday night, all ironed, and I said to Amir, "You'll have to talk to them about the fact that they're going to have to help me." And it's really weird, as if it was pretty clear to me that something would happen. You don't fully understand until it really happens.
It was a horrible night. The end of the world. It's beyond one's ability to grasp. They say the end of the world, but it really is the end of the world. It's the end of the world. There is nothing after that.
There are lots of good memories. I think I'll always miss him. Mom, who's older? Me or Alon? You came out 1 minute before. But who's older? You're both the same. Come on! Tamar, you're the same. You're twins. You were in my stomach at the same time, and you came out at the same time. That's not true. Come on, Tamar, really. You're older than him by 1 minute. You see, I'm older.
Amir was born to a pioneer family in Kibbutz Gal'on. His grandfather Moses escaped the Nazi Holocaust and was among the founders of the small kibbutz, striving to maintain good relations with the neighboring Arab villages.
Zohar. Amir Zohar. That's what appears on Amir's personal detail card. This card file contains every personal detail, all the children who were born on kibbutz. There's a different box for those who remain on the kibbutz, and those who leave are in a different box. Galon was considered a new kibbutz, and we wanted to be a community of new immigrants. Life was hard on the kibbutz. It was a wilderness, a genuine wilderness, full of caves and snakes. We didn't have an easy life. But we were glad we were living in Israel, and that we hadn't been captured by the Nazis. Amir and Orly used to go to almost every peace rally. They always identified with the peace camp, and it didn't come as a surprise to us that he went to speak to the people of Tzor Bahar village and its Arab leader. On the contrary, it was just like him.
He was never an extremist. He was always a man of compromise.
He got that from his grandfather. His grandfather was the kibbutz administrator for many years, and he always said, listen first, then say what you have to say. Whatever you do, first listen to what the other has to say. I have this image in my head. One winter, when we lived opposite our parents, and I don't know how, some orphan Arab boy was roaming the street, and it was very cold. It was snowing, and we took him in, and he was frozen, simply frozen. In the end, we took him to the orphanage in the eastern part of the city. But I remember, first we thawed him out from the cold. That was Amir. It's understanding, but it's something he grew up on. It's something we grew up on. It's understanding that before you stands a human being. Treat him like a person. You don't treat him based on who he is or how he threatens you at the moment. At this moment, he's just a human being, and he needs your help.
Shortly before Amir was killed, an atmosphere of tension and hostility swept through the Jerusalem area. Amir, being a community activist and a follower of the biblical tradition of Tikkun Olam, healing the world, initiated peaceful meetings between the Jewish and Arab neighbors. Jews and Arabs are gathering in Jerusalem. The Jewish community leaders from Armona Netziv are meeting with the residents of Tzor Bahar. A week ago, in this place that separates the two neighborhoods, Arabs were throwing Molotov cocktails. Both sides were throwing stones. Now they want to prove to the extremists that things can be done differently.
Amir, may he rest in peace, took the plate of sweet pastries and passed it around to Jews and Arabs. He felt that it was he, supposedly, who was responsible for the real coexistence from the start, and I had tears in my eyes.
There's no doubt that a gathering such as this, between residents from both sides of the boundary, This imaginary boundary that doesn't exist. You can see the houses are next to each other. Even a meeting like this one can begin to create the right atmosphere for future cooperation.
Every morning I leave the house around 9 a.m. and stand outside the doorway. I stand there and remember Amir.
If there was anyone who could reach an agreement and solve the conflict, overcome these historic boundaries, these rifts between the two peoples, it was Amir.
This is still my country, and we're not in Switzerland. Danger hangs over our heads all the time. Till that danger ceases to exist, we'll have to do this. Put on our uniforms, some of us for 2 weeks, some for a month, some for longer than that, and turn into soldiers, just like that, out of the blue. We have to remember that, after all, it's us, the reserves, who are here. The people you work with whom you go to a restaurant or to a movie. It's not like the minute we put on our uniforms, we become a bunch of bloodthirsty savages or something like that. We have to keep in mind that these are IDF soldiers, the guys from the reserves. We're all human beings here. We all lead civilian lives. We're just dressed differently now, on a mission unlike the one we're accustomed to in our everyday lives. But beneath it all, we're still human beings.
For me, this reserve duty was like a nightmare. A real nightmare.